In your 20s, you should focus on.
E equals MC cubed. That's my formula. Ask Nicki's formula.
Great.
For grade 7.
Ask Nicki's got a formula.
It's like the sandbox of sexuality. I rate my orgasms.
To your husband.
Yeah. So I want to help people tap into their pleasure potential.
Hello and welcome back to episode 2 of the Her Health podcast. In our previous podcast, we spoke to Dr. Lauren Knight about skincare through the ages, and we're sticking to this through the ages topic. But today, we're talking about something a little sexier, namely libido and confidence and communication through the ages. We are joined by Nicki Brivik, who is a sexologist and specialist when it comes to this area. And we're really going to be unpacking how confidence and communication can make such a big difference in your relationship. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
very
you for
excited for
having
this
me.
topic. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with a bit of an icebreaker, a rapid fire. I want you to answer off the cuff, whatever comes to your mind. Don't think it through too much because we want these spontaneous answers.
Okay.
So, firstly, in your 20s, you should focus on.
In your 20s, you should focus on getting comfortable with who you are, knowing, shedding the shame that you kind of have been brought up with. It's like the sandbox of sexuality, playing, learning different things about yourself. So I suppose it's curiosity. Be curious about who you are, what your body can do for you.
Great. So then in your 30s, what should you focus on?
So your 30s is quite a difficult time. There's a lot of things going on. We have so much more pressure. Often kids come. So then it's about communication, about communicating with your partner so that you guys can actually be on the same page, that you allow intimacy to be very important if you want it to stay important through your life. So communication is essential, and we have to learn how to communicate properly.
True. In your 40s, you should focus on.
Sure. In your 40s, you should focus on being different and exciting, because it's a time that you can actually now start thinking about yourself. Kids are getting older or they're moving out. Your job is kind of, your career is kind of in its where it should be. And you have the time to kind of really explore what you want. You can start asking for what you want and what you need, as opposed to just kind of going with the flow. And it's a fun time. It's a fun time where you get to say a little bit more about yourself. You get what you want more for yourself than always for other people.
So what is the biggest myth when it comes to your libido?
Okay, the biggest myth is that libido should be spontaneous, that it should hit like a lightning bolt to the groin, because that is not true. It's more like a campfire. It needs stoking and nurturing. It needs oxygen. If we are going to assume that desire should just come to us, then I can tell you, you're going to be disappointed. It's like waiting to kind of want to brush your teeth. It's not going to happen. Some people are lucky enough to have that spontaneous desire. So I'm not saying, a lot of the times men have that spontaneous desire, but certainly in long-term relationships, and often women, we don't have that. We have responsive desire. It arrives in response to pleasure rather than just thinking about it just happening.
We're going to go back to that.
Yeah.
What is one thing females should never feel guilty about?
What should we never feel guilty about? We should never feel guilty about our own pleasure and demanding our own pleasure and wanting our own pleasure. And for some reason, we do. So I want to help people tap into their pleasure potential, because we deserve it. Pleasure is our birthright. The clitoris, I'm bringing it up already. The clitoris is there only for pleasure. It's the only body part on male and females that is there for only pleasure. And it's got over 8,000 nerve endings. And it allows us to tap into that pleasure. So if we are not using all those 8,000 nerve endings, then we are not actually enjoying what our God-given right to pleasure.
Sounds very logical.
I don't know. Although I like that you said it's logical, because I'm not sure if it's so logical. There's parts that aren't logical. But what I like about you saying logical is it does allow us to tap into our erotic mind. And although that's not necessarily logical, you can logically say to yourself, if I want to have a great sex life, I can have one. I just need to learn how to tap into that erotic mind and know my erotic body.
Interesting that you said responsive and spontaneous, because before every podcast, I do a lot of research, and this came up actually, responsive and spontaneous. And a couple of things that also came to the fore is your emotional needs need to be met. You need to be self-confident, so you can't be in your head in terms of anxiety. And then also there's something that came up called sexual currency, which I thought was quite fascinating. So let's start with the responsive and spontaneous and then move into the emotional needs. And then maybe we can talk a bit about sexual currency, which is quite a fun phrase. So can you just outline responsive versus spontaneous and just explain exactly what they are?
Okay, so this is, desire is quite a difficult piece, and it's the most misunderstood piece. The thing about desire is it really matters, but you can work at it. So for some of us, spontaneous desire, like I say, it hits immediately. So it's like an espresso shot. And that's often a male, not always. I do have lots of men that are not like that. But some of us, especially women and especially in long-term relationships, we require more. So we like tea. We need brewing. We need atmosphere. We need connection. We need, kind of the right conditions in order for us to feel desire. So desire doesn't just arrive. It comes in response to pleasure. Mm-hmm. And so if we can understand that, then we can create the right conditions in order for us to achieve liftoff. But what often happens is that we laud people who have spontaneous desire. So, we think that we should have it. So you've all seen that movie where they kind of see each other from across the crowded room, and the next thing they're up against the wall, and then there's multiple orgasms. That doesn't actually happen for a lot of us. And it doesn't mean that there's something broken in us. It just means that we require more. We metabolize arousal slower in a different way. We need a longer runway. And if you can understand that, it's incredible, especially if your partner is one way and you are another way. And if you can communicate that with each other, then you can create the right conditions because both of you achieve liftoff. Mm-hmm. It just is how you get there. Does it take more steeping? Like a slow tea, or is it an espresso shot? But if you're married to an espresso shot, then he needs to learn to let you steep a little bit.
To brew the tea.
Correct.
So I also understand that females need emotional connection to want to have sex. Males need to have sex to have an emotional connection. Is that correct?
I think that's a little bit simplistic. I mean, I kind of often say, do you need to communicate in order to, do you need to have sex in order to connect, or do you need to connect in order to have sex? So that's kind of what you're saying. Yes. I don't think it goes along gender lines. And I also think it depends on context. Sometimes you just want to, am I allowed to swear?
By all means.
Sometimes you just want to and sometimes you want to make love, and it kind of depends on where you are and what you're feeling. So if you are feeling particularly kind of sensitive that day and your partner just wants to you might feel, oh, he doesn't see me, I feel insecure, he's not holding me, I've had a terrible day, then you're going to be on different pages. But if you say, I actually have had a shocking day, I need to be held, I need to find some connection, we haven't actually chatted with each other, then it's a different story. And then you can maybe want to make love and look at each other's eyes and feel connected. So I just think it kind of depends on where you are, not only in your relationship, but in your arousal arc, in your day-to-day, in your life, I find as people get older, and because I noticed when you asked me that question, the icebreakers, you didn't ask me about 50s, 60s, and 70s, because remember, sex does not have an expiry date. And I think the older you get, you can reinvent yourself. So for me, it's kind of what do you want, and at different phases. So for example, when your kids are very young, maybe you don't their connection might be important because you haven't had a chance to see your partner all day. You've been focusing on the kids. You've been focusing on work. You need to find the time to kind of connect. But as you get older and maybe you have more time to connect, then maybe you want more hot sex, more adventurous sex, more playful sex. I think it's not all about one answer.
Interesting you say about connecting. So I have 3 small children. Life's very busy. My husband and I both work full time. And a piece of advice we got given was to have a business meeting every day, a 10-minute business meeting where you offload your days, your respective days, anything that's happened at work, and then you park it, because otherwise it consumes your evening with this, mundane what happened and how stressful it was. When you actually want to talk about the fun stuff, maybe you want to talk about your children and then talk about each other and connect. And I think, it's been really good advice for us, because having that 10-minute business meeting, really encircles that time, and for the rest you move on and you connect on a deeper level.
I like that, although I must say business meetings not very sexy.
It's not sexy, but it's
So I kind of think we need to rebrand that. Okay, I would say
a powwow.
A powwow, or kind of let's just connect.
But this connection really is like that opportunity to debrief each other on your day. So I do see it as quite businessy. After that, you connect, I guess, on a deeper level.
I see what you're saying, but sometimes, people need different things. Some people need to debrief on their day. Sometimes you just need to connect. Sometimes you don't actually want to talk about your day right then, And so I do think I love the idea of a connection, of 10 minutes of connection for whatever you want to choose to do in that time. So that you can, I often, my husband will come home and, I'll talk to him when he has a shower. Or sometimes I say to him, don't come home till you've debriefed yourself, because I don't sometimes want that energy. So I like the idea of just finding a time to connect, but choosing what you want to do with that time. Just kind of saying, you're still my person. How was your day? And kind of doing the highlights. But for me, I think the biggest tip that I could give you is to have a date night. In this time of craziness, if you have one date night, which means hot sex night, but it also means connection time. It also means being adventurous, playful, exciting, choosing what you want to do outside the bedroom also impacts what you do inside the bedroom. And the thing is that it's saying, I value our connection. This is important to us. We're not going to lose it. So even however busy the day goes, however busy the week goes, you've got that time. And it also fuels anticipation. So when so I have date night is Thursday night. It's written in stone. Now,
Every week.
And I can tell you this is the weirdest thing. The kids love it. Why? They know mom and dad, it's important to them. This is important for them. They know that they get to do something different on that night because we're not there to say, sit and eat with us, so they love it. They love date night. I mean, I remember when my youngest daughter was little, she would cry if we were going out, but then we'd say it's date night and then she'd be okay. So whenever we went out, it was date night.
Tips on that, because Mike is like, why? Why wouldn't you take us with?
Because mommy wants to connect with daddy.
We're still trying to get that message across.
But you see, if they know that, it also... for them, it is modeling intimacy. Yes. And you want your kids to one day know that their relationship is so important. We don't learn this at school, and that's what I'm so passionate about. We need to learn how to have relationships, how to have love, how to have a great sexual relationship. And if your kids know that mom and dad are okay, mom and dad are connected, I'm telling you, that is the safest, amazing feeling for them. They feel secure and loved, and they know that everything is okay. So have a date night, and it's exciting. You know it's coming. So like for me on Wednesday night, I start getting excited. What are we going to do? What are we going to plan? Thursday, I always come in and I see my husband's getting ready. Okay, he's charging the sex toys. So, that builds arousal. And I know there's the one time that he will really focus on me. So we talk about that responsive desire. I'm anticipating it. So because believe it or not, I've got responsive desire, even though I'm a sex coach. Obviously, I have a lot of accelerators, like talking about sex. That's something that gets you in the mood for sex a lot, knowing about it, knowing I want to work at it. But I still have responsive desire. So knowing that this is coming allows me to anticipate for it, plan for it, And then, we get the connection, which I like, whatever we do, and we get the adventure and playfulness that we know that tonight's the night. And then we actually can give each other the time that we need in order to have amazing sex.
So you're obviously a very confident person and you understand your body and your relationship with your husband, but not all women have that confidence. So there's also something called sexual anxiety, or people with self-confidence or body images that, poor body image, that might then feel anxious before a date night. So, or anxious of what's going to happen in the bedroom. So how would you, I guess, help people like that?
Okay, so I love that question because it's so important for us. And as we age, in particular with hormones, you guys know this, with many menopause and perimenopause, and our bodies are changing and suddenly we don't like ourselves. I always say you've got to focus on what your body can do for you, what your body makes you feel like, rather than what you look like. I know it's simplification, but the reality is we need to be able to change our focus. And it can happen. We can change the soundtrack of our lives. We just have to shift focus. Like, what can our body do for us? And also, think about your partner. Your partner loves you and chose you for who you are. We see someone as a whole, not for their tiny little flaws, but yet we go and we look at ourselves and look at our own flaws and we maximize those. So I'm saying minimize them. I know it sounds ridiculous. I hardly look in the mirror. I mean, I do to put on my makeup and, because I want to rather feel what I feel. What do I feel like? And I think that's the important thing. With regards to a date night, I mean, I'm hoping in your relationship you feel comfortable and secure, but share it if you do. Say, I'm not feeling so great. I'm feeling a little insecure. I feel like I've put on weight. They probably don't even notice it. In fact, I never ever say anything like that because I don't want to draw attention, because in reality, when I'm looking at you, I'm seeing a beautiful woman. I'm not thinking, oh, but the one hair is sticking out here or her eyes are, it's not. But I'm just saying, we don't look at something like that. We look at it as it in totality. And I think we need to start doing that with ourselves.
Yeah.
And we also need to start, I think as we get older, one thing I do think is that we start realizing that we have only one body. And this is the best. Today, right now, is the best I'm ever going to be. So we need to use that, and you need to embrace that. And I think as you get older, you do learn that, menopause brings awful things with it, like hot flushes and changes in the hormones that we try to get right. But what it also does is it allows us to think to ourselves, you know what, I don't really care so much. And who am I, and who do I choose to be for the rest of my life? So it's a choice that you make. And obviously, it's something you just have to work at. But do the things that make you feel confident. Obviously, take the supplements that will boost you. Wear the clothes that make you feel good. Eat properly, exercise. Movement is an amazing, amazing thing. It makes you feel better. It boosts your endorphins. So do whatever it takes to boost your confidence. And then kind of go and say, I'm here for pleasure, I'm not performing, because that's great. Sex is not a performance. It's about pleasure. And hopefully in a long-term relationship, you can realize that, because if you want to age together, you need to know that.
Okay, so when we talk about communication, I think what comes up quite a lot is makeup sex, but also fighting styles. And this is come up quite a lot in conversations I've had with friends, where one partner decides to stew on what the fight was about, calm down, rationalize, and then go back to it so as to not say anything that could be hurtful in the heat of the moment. The other partner wants to sort it out straight away because he or she can't go to sleep without this. What would your advice be there? Because those are two very different communication styles. And if one forces the other to interact in the heat of the moment, they might say something mean that they don't mean. And the other one won't be able to sleep if they can't sort it out before going to bed, or, in the time that it's taken the other to rationalize. So what would your advice there be?
Okay, so that's actually a great question. obviously you've tapped on the fact that communication is the bedrock to making your bedrock. So you need, I know, I keep saying that, but we need to understand each other. We need to be able to communicate with each other. And in your instance, it's so interesting because the Gottmans, they have the sex lab, they are the relationship gurus, they're amazing. Okay, so it's quite interesting. He actually says that men, they can't process like we process. So it's often the man who says, I want to deal with this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because he's got those vasopressors. Oh God, what's it called? I'm having that anyway, I'm having a moment. But they kind of need to, they can sometimes worry that they're going to explode. So sometimes he says that with a man, actually, when he says, I can't talk about this now, let him not talk about it now. Don't necessarily go to bed all okay because it's not going to happen. So let him leave. Let him breathe. Let him think about nothing else. Let him go for a bicycle ride or a run or whatever it takes to kind of get his testosterone down. Thank you, and his furiousness and God, well, that's not a language, but anyway, you know what I'm saying.
We get it.
And let him calm down, and then let him come to the argument rational. Now, we, on the other hand, we want to know right now. We want to sort it out right now. Why didn't you do it?
You for an answer?
I'm going to keep tapping at you. And he's going to get, so that's a big problem.
Yeah.
But if you understand that he's not leaving you to stew because he's trying to punish you, but rather so he can calm down, it shifts things, don't you think? Then you realize, okay, so he needs to actually think about something else. So you could say, when you're not fighting, okay, I've noticed that I always want to do this and it drives you nuts, and you always want to leave and that drives me nuts. Why are you leaving? And then perhaps he'll tell you what I've just said. And then you can say, okay, so let's make a deal. When I really get upset with you and you feel you need to leave, leave. But then it's up to you tomorrow morning or whatever, 24 hours later, to come back to this conversation. Because then I need to know that you still care and you want to work through it. And that will avoid that kind of screeching at each other, blowing up when it doesn't necessarily need to. So that's where that communication piece is so important.
And I think that's a good point, is like almost coming up with a game plan when you're not fighting, so that when you are fighting, you understand.
Correct. Exactly. It's essential.
Yeah. Okay, so then when we are talking about, back to libido, sexual currency.
Yes.
I love this term. I think it's very cool. So sexual currency, my understanding, is that it's your little interactions or exchanges throughout the day that build up the sexual tension that maybe lead up to a date night or lead up to a night of play. How important do you think that is? Or do you think that relates to your spontaneous responsive libido? And what suggestions do you have in terms of sexual currency? Because one person's sexual currency might be completely different to another's. Like if my husband taps my butt, I might be like, stop it, it's irritating me. But if someone else gets their butt tapped, they'd be like, ooh.
Okay. So interesting, I think you brought up with that, the butt slapping, is what you've tapped on is context. Context is so important with desire. Because if you were having a hot moment and he's busy riding you and he spanks your bum, it could be really hot. But now you're trying to get the kids ready, you're making dinner, and he spanks your bum, you want to kill him. You know, it's the same as getting dressed as like a naughty nurse. I mean, if you're getting dressed as a naughty nurse in the bedroom, oh, it's hot, it's sexy, you know, titillating. If he says to you, please, you know, I want you to dress as a French maid, and when you cook dinner, you're going to say stuff off. So it's all about context. Okay. And if we understand that, we can also create the context that we want. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing. But what you were talking about, sexual currency, I actually call it the erotic thread that you keep between yourselves. Because the thing is that if you don't have that erotic thread, you can easily become just friends. And if intimacy is important to you, especially in the busy years, like when you're raising kids and that, it's important to keep feeding that intimacy and keeping that erotic thread. And when they've done studies of couples that are sexually satisfied and are really happy in their relationships, it's often because they pay attention to each other intentionally. So when I say that, it means like having a kiss, longer than a 6-second kiss. The Gottmans talk about the 6-second kiss because that releases oxytocin, which is our bonding chemical, as you know. Holding hands when you're watching a movie, having a shower together. You can create that erotic thread, sleeping naked with each other, sending a sexy text or even just a check-in with each other. That can be sexy. I love it when my husband plays with my hair. So he always lets me lie in his lap and plays with my hair. So that is just keeping this erotic thread. It doesn't mean that it's going to end up in sex. It just means that there is this kind of closeness between you so that when you actually want to have sex, there's not this big wall. So when I see couples that are struggling, you actually almost feel this wall between them. And it's often just breaking down that wall, which, funny enough, it happens easily because what people don't realize is with sex, small intentional changes can really reap massive relationship dividends. So if you can change little things and keep that erotic thread and keep touching each other and keeping that connection, then that keeps that erotic thread through your relationship.
So what would you mean by small changes? Can you give some examples?
Yeah. So with responsive and spontaneous desire, if you go home today and you say, does the responsive desire, does that resonate with you?
Yeah.
And is your husband more of he more of the espresso shot? So maybe go home and say to him, I've just realized that this is what I am and this is what you are. So neither of us is right. We are both normal. We are both correct. You're not better than me, and I'm not better than you. But now the thing is, we need to both achieve liftoff. So how do we do that? I now know I need more to get me going. So can we do that together? So he can, and I find most men want to please us. They just don't know how. So tell him, I need more to get me going. So how can I tap into my erotic mind? Let's watch something together, read something together, listen to something together. There's so much media now which can boost this. Let's try role play if you're brave enough, if you are willing to be vulnerable. Let's plan a date night so that I can connect with you before we come home. When I come back, take the time to explore my body because I can't just get there like that. Let's massage each other. Let's have a shower together. Let's do a foot rub, whatever it is that you need. So that's small change, just knowing that. And then what we haven't talked about is our brakes and our accelerators. And this is very important. So it confuses desire a little bit more. Brakes and accelerators are exactly like that. It's like a car. What stops your desire and what boosts your desire. So think about what stops our desire. Stress, exhaustion, menopause, being angry at your partner, resentment, kids next door. There's so many things that can pile up. Think about your accelerators. Watching something sexy, a thought of your partner, seeing someone hot when you went and got your coffee this morning. So whatever it is. But the thing is, in long-term relationships, our brakes tend to kind of pile up and our accelerators become lackluster. So we need to learn how to release those brakes and press down on our accelerators. And that's another conversation. So for example, with your 10-minute, what we've now called the powwow, that in itself is easing off the brake because you are kind of down-regulating yourself. You're getting the stress of the day off you. You're connecting with each other. You are inadvertently lifting the brake. Okay? Now, what else? When, do you need to get your list done before you have sex? Then you can say, I just need to finish this proposal because otherwise I can't relax. But when we do, wait for me in bed and be ready. So it's about knowing how can you lift your foot off the brake and what can you do to push that accelerator down. So those small changes and that communication piece, it's not you. It's me wanting to get my to-do list done, or I need to know that the kitchen is clean before I go to bed. So help me clean up and we'll get to bed quicker.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's about, I guess, understanding what the accelerators are and working on them to make sure they don't disappear.
And working on more, creating more accelerators together and knowing. Because, if your partner knows that you love your hair being played with, that's a great accelerator. And the thing is that our bodies are a galaxy of nerve endings, but yet we always go with the same route. And the thing is, predictability is boring. So I often say, and this is the thing, so many women say, I don't have a libido. And you know what I say to that is, tell me about the sex that you are having. Because if you are having amazing, exciting, adventurous, mind-blowing sex, then tell me you don't want to have sex. But if you are having dull, boring, repetitive, melted ice cream sex, then surprise, surprise, you don't want to have it. So, and the thing is, we change as we grow, and our bodies change and our desires change. So if we keep that communication between us and we say, look, I know yesterday I loved it when you sucked on my nipples, but today it just doesn't feel like anything. That is amazing to know that that's okay. We change and we grow, and we need to share that with our partner.
I like that. So you've brought a soft toy with you.
My clitoris. As you can see, it's totally on brand.
Yeah, so I'm actually wearing leopard print today to mirror you.
And I love it.
I
Thank
understand
you.
this is part of communication style, so it was intentional.
Well, I must tell you, for me, leopard print, any animal print is actually beige. I don't see it.
You said this, and I love that you call it beige. I call it toast when it's just meh. But you're clearly not the beige or toast that I know. Let's unpack your soft toy.
So why I wanted to bring the clitoris is we need to know our bodies before we can tap into our erotic mind. And this is something I find a lot of us don't know, men and women. So we all think that the clitoris is this little nub at the top of the vulva. And I say vulva because the vulva is the labia. That's where all the magic happens, not the vagina where the goes in and the baby comes out. Okay, that's just and that's how we've linguistically erased our pleasure center, because our pleasure center is not the vagina. It's mainly the clitoris. So, as I said, it has legs and bulbs, and these swell when we are aroused. And you know what? It takes about 20 minutes of stimulation for us to swell and get engorged. And this is beneficial to your partner to know, because when they finally enter you, when you are engorged, they feel that deliciousness. That, there's a very big difference between an engorged clitoris and a non-engorged clitoris. That's when we're not aroused enough and we don't feel excited enough. So take the time learning your clitoris. It's important to know your own clitoris. It's important, ladies, please masturbate. You have to masturbate. If you don't know your own body, how are we going to share it with our partner? And the thing is, our bodies change and grow and evolve, and especially with menopause, we need to really know our body and learn how it's changed so that we can share that with our partner. Because one thing, our partners are not mind readers, but we expect them to be. So tell them. And then when you were talking about communication, there is that important macro communication out of the bedroom, but there's important micro communication in the bedroom. Tell him what you like. Tell him how you like it. Show him by moving your body, moving his hand, and even modeling it. As I say, masturbating is the ultimate teacher. It shows your partner how you really like to be touched. It's hot as anything, and you are guaranteed to get off because you know how to touch yourself. So the thing about your clitoris is a lot of us don't actually like going for the nub straight away. It's very sensitive. But what do you like? Do you like tapping? Do you like circular motions, anti-clockwise, clockwise, up, down? get to know your clitoris and then share that with your partner if you want to be having mind-blowing sex. And if I can, this is where my most important sex tips comes in, and especially if we're talking about menopausal women or perimenopausal women, is get a sex toy. Now, for some reason, so many women don't have sex toys.
But there's so many sex toys.
Exactly, and that's why I have my big 5. It's like a safari kit of what you have to have. I mean, of course, do not limit yourself to the big 5.
What are the big 5?
The big 5 is definitely you have to have like a rabbit because it can go in and on the outside. Now, ironically, most women, especially when we masturbate, we don't put anything inside of us. And that's something a lot of men think that and a lot of women think that a sex toy is something to fear because it's kind of, is it going to replace me? No, I have never heard of anyone leave anyone for a sex toy, okay? It doesn't happen. You don't get divorced because of a sex toy, Although I must say sex toys don't get jealous if they don't mind if you use more than one.
So there's AI. Let's watch this space.
Exactly. So the thing is they are the most effective way to stimulate a clitoris because they get to all the nerve endings that our hands and our mouths and our genitals cannot get to. So nowadays there's a sucker. Suckers work on sonic waves, okay? Your hands and your mouth and your genitals can't do it. It's impossible. It's the most incredible thing. Have you ever tried one?
No.
It's amazing, okay? It literally works deep inside of you. You can't even describe the feeling. It's so unbelievable. And then you've got the vibrator. And if you're using the vibrator, and there are different kind of vibrators. There's the rumbly one. Then there's the light one. Then there's the very medium one, which is kind of in between. What do you like? Know yourself so you can get the right one. And then you can use different ones. I love the magic wand. That's the third one on the list. The magic wand is like the famous one. It's got that diffuse head. I should have brought it, but I didn't. It works that you can put it over the whole vulva, and it's a diffuse area, so it stimulates all of this and helps to get it engorged. And remember, sex toys always also help to bridge the time gap. Because remember, for a man comes between 3 and 6 minutes.
So 20 minutes is a very long time.
Yeah. So this can bridge the gap. Now, obviously, it's not going to be 3 to 6 minutes unless you're amazing, unless you're very lucky. But even then, more arousal creates more pleasure, creates more orgasms and stronger orgasms. So even if you can have sex the same way and orgasm quickly, it doesn't mean it's going to be like I rate my orgasms.
To your husband?
Yeah, he knows that. That's the thing. Humor needs to come into the bedroom. We need to stop being so precious about feedback. If you're cooking and your partner says, "Oh, can I add the salt?" You're not going to mind. If you say, "I don't actually like Italian," or "I don't feel like Italian, can we have Chinese?" No one minds. But why do we get so precious about the bedroom? It's often about ourselves, not about the partner. I'm feeling sensitive today, or I need more today, or I can't get out of my head today. So don't be precious. And then, aim for more pleasure and greater pleasure and hotter orgasms because, orgasms are not just one thing. I have something I call Nazarates, that 100-foot wave in Portugal. That's wow, that's my explosive one. But then I have lesser ones. I'm always trying to achieve Nazarate, but it normally comes on date night because then I'm relaxed and I know I've got the time. So, that's where my brakes are off, my accelerators are on. My husband's helped me build desire. So that's when I normally have it. But it kind of comes back to what you asked me in the beginning. What do you want from each session? We don't necessarily want the same thing. Like on date night, I want explosive sex because I plan for it. But sometimes you just want a quickie. Sometimes you just want to connect. Sometimes you want to feel desired. Sometimes you want to be able to go to sleep. What is it you want? And it doesn't matter. It can change and it can evolve. Don't judge yourself. That's the problem. We all judge ourselves so much. Shed the shame. Embrace pleasure. You deserve it. As you can hear, I'm very passionate
No,
about
I
my
like that.
topic.
Shed the shame, bedrock to make your bedrock. I'm learning lots of key phrases here.
Sorry, I can talk about sex and you can't stop me. I'm like so
I think it's an
passionate.
important conversation to have because there's so much taboo and people don't have these open conversations. And we don't want it to sound, too over the top, but you do need to normalize these conversations as well. So I think it's very important. I'm going to close off with 3 things: your top tip for communication, your top tip for confidence, and your top tip for libido.
Top tip for communication. I think start slowly and then build and learn to know each other and learn to not be so sensitive. See that we are different people. We're allowed to communicate differently and treat your partner like they are your friend. They're someone you like. They're someone you love. That's something we often forget. We are so kind with strangers, with our friends, and yet with our partner, we are so judgmental. And, if you chose your partner in the first place because you love them, then remember that and start treating them kindly and keep that communication going, because then it becomes easier. The more you do it, it's like a muscle that we are building. So build that muscle and it will become easier and easier for you to do. So that's for communication. For confidence, I kind of said it before, it's knowing what your body makes you feel rather than what your body can do for you rather than what you look like. Because you're going to age, you need to accept that. And really, we are so lucky to be able to move and feel and have pleasure and be in this body.
I think it's looking through things at a different lens. And I see it as positivity. You can choose your day as a positive day or a negative day. And the same thing, you can choose to feel good about your body and appreciate that it's healthy and it's working, or you could just focus on the elements that you don't like. So it's a choice.
And you can do the things that make you feel good. So dress as you want. Wash your hair if that makes you feel good. Go to the gym. That releases the endorphins. Go on your supplements. They make you feel great.
They do.
I must say ashwagandha's been great for my husband too.
Please tell more. Why?
It kind of, I think it helps kind of lower stress and keep your erections more kind of happening, and it takes that anxiety of whether it's going to happen or not. And that's the thing. Remember, sex is not all about penetration. We haven't discussed that, and that's so important because sex is everything. It's energy. It's all about the other things. It's not just penetration. Remember, we women don't get our most pleasure from our vagina. We get it from our vulva. So if we are focusing on penetration alone, we are going to miss out on all the pleasure that is out there. So think broadly about what sex is, not just penetration. That is a myth that we've been sold. And I think it also put pressure on men to have these big erections. And once they know that this is not so important, that the penis is not the star of the show, they can relax. And then guess what? Erections happen more easily. And take ashwagandha, and I think it definitely helps too.
Fabulous. Ashwagandha for men and women actually decreases cortisol levels. So it's also great if you're feeling stressed at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And then Felix, interestingly, is saffron, and that's also been massively beneficial for both males and females that struggle with depression. And depression and anxiety can also decrease your libido.
It's a massive break. Remember,
sex
depression and anxiety is a break, a massive break. So deal with that so that your brakes are lifted, And then what was the last thing you asked me?
We did communication, confidence, and now it's your libido. Top tip.
Oh, God, it just went out of my head. I had it. But the top tip for your libido and your sex life is if you want to have it, you can have it. It is not a gift. It is a skill that can be fostered and learned. So foster your desire, work on your desire, work on your sex life, and you can have a great sex life. It doesn't just happen. Everyone can have a great sex life if you work at it. And believe you me, I work at it every day, and that's why I have a great sex life. Not because I'm just so talented. No one is talented. You are. It's all about. I actually have an equation. I'm almost out. My book. I've written a book.
Wow.
And my equation for erotic potential is mindfulness, so being present, communication, because obviously then we can share with each other and connect, creativity, and that's very important because it brings up excitement and that's something that people don't realize is so important in a sex life. Yeah, play. And then collaboration. Great sex requires collaboration because it is not a solo thing. Unless you are having it on your own, great. I agree with that. You know my view on that. But if you are in a relationship, great sex requires collaboration. You need to create something together in order for you to be having amazing sex.
I love that. Mindfulness, communication, creativity, and collaboration.
So E equals MC cubed.
That's great.
That's my formula. Ask Nicki's formula for great sex.
Ask Nicki's got a formula. Thank you, Nicki. That was very interesting. I loved this conversation, and I hope that everyone out there loved it too. Just a reminder that you can follow our social media. You can go onto our broadcast channels to get behind the scenes. And for you special viewers that have watched this episode, you can use the Her Health code on checkout to get 20% off. But just these conversations are to celebrate females in the health and wellness industry and bring stunning insights like you have to our audience. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I so enjoyed our conversation.
Remember, be healthy, be creative, communicate, collaborate, be mindful, and be a force of nature.